Welcome back, Brooklyn Nets fans. The Nets lose a close game at MSG, but more importantly, we got the answer to the biggest question possibly of the entire offseason, and that is about Shawn Marks and his job security. Turns out he will be back next year somehow. Brian Lewis dropped the article today. Came out at 8:30 tonight, so probably during around halftime of the game. I don't know why they would drop it tonight during the game. I don't know what the strategy was there. Maybe because they were up by a lot at that point, but I don't know. It was just weird timing. Obviously, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not too surprised, I guess. I leaned towards thinking that Marks would be fired. Turns out I was wrong. So it is what it is. They said that they'll cast a wide net when it comes to searching for the next coach, but I just don't get how this man still has his job. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the game a bit tonight. Hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe, all that, and let's get into it. So the Brian Lewis article was titled, Nets Shawn Marks returning as GM for next season with pivotal coaching hire looming. The article went on to say, despite a fan fervor that wants Nets general manager Shawn Marks gone, he will be back in Brooklyn next season. I didn't know what fervor meant until tonight, so that shows my lack of vocabulary. That means intense and passionate feeling, so makes sense. And multiple sources told the Post that Marks will make their next head coaching hire this summer, one that is going to be an exhaustive league-wide search. So at least we know they'll be doing like a wide search for this next coach. It won't be some in-house guy. I guess there's a chance Kevin Ollie gets it. I don't think that will be the case. I'd be pretty surprised, but you never know with this freaking organization. Marks may have lost the confidence of the louder portions of the Nets fan base, but he still holds the confidence of Nets team owner Joe Tsai, who, by the way, I'm sure most of you saw this. Joe Tsai was on a podcast. I forget the name of it. It was more like a business-centric type podcast, but they brought in some Nets and owning a team stuff at the end of it. And Joe Tsai had some quotes that if you're a Nets fan, you just don't want to hear that stuff. I mean, I'll go over them later, but I was listening to that podcast hoping that I would come away with more, just more of me liking Joe Tsai, because I don't like the guy. I think everybody knows that by now. I was hoping that I would watch that and just be more understanding and at least like the guy more, and that didn't help at all. I still don't like Joe Tsai one bit. I don't trust him. I feel like he's in this for the wrong reason, or wrong reasons, I should say, but yeah, I guess we'll start with the Shawn Marks thing. I'm just shocked at this point, that after all these seasons, I think it's been 8 years now. I'm looking up the Nets record by year and trying to see how long he's been here for. I think he was hired in February of 2016, so it's almost been a decade now. But this guy has had, I would say, one really good season here since being the GM. They had that 48-24 season during the shortened season in 2021, and that was the year they should have won the title. Unfortunately, they got hurt that year, but it's crazy. Like, aside from that 1 year, which was the 2020/21 season, this guy has done really nothing that good for this organization. He did help build a team that was attractive, that made the playoffs as a 7 seed. They lost in 5 to Philly, the team with D'Angelo Russell and Jared Allen and Karis LeVert and Dinwiddie, Joe Harris. Like, it was a fun, likable team, but it was a first-round exit type team. They lost in 5. They won the first game of that series, got blown out the rest of them. Actually, they lost one in a close game. I remember that freaking Mike Scott guy had a big 3 in that game. But anyway, point is, they really have had a championship ceiling for just 1 year of the 8 years he's been here. So I'm still confused after everything we saw last trade deadline. You move off of Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and your plan was to build around Mikal Bridges and build around Ben Simmons, which was just crazy to even go into a season thinking that Ben Simmons would be reliable at all, because I don't know if Shawn Marks is new here or something, but Ben Simmons didn't play the entire season, actually. He didn't play the entire season in 2021-22. He played like 44 games last season, and then he lasted, I think, 5 games before getting hurt and then came back for like 5 more and got hurt again. So the guy's played like 50 some odd games since being a Net, and he's been here for 2.5 years. I mean, to come into this year and really building the team around Mikal Bridges and Ben Simmons, I don't know what the man was thinking, and it turned around and it went about as badly as it could. But of course, Shawn Marks is not held responsible. It's like, at what point are we going to hold the right people accountable? This guy has had so many different head coaches, from Kenny Atkinson to Jock Vaughn as an interim to Steve Nash to Jock Vaughn again. They extended Jock Vaughn. They fired Vaughn midseason this year, which was the right thing to do after a 21-33 start. And then they bring in Kevin Ollie to be the interim. So the guy's had like 4 or 5 different coaches in the past since 2016-17. I mean, it's just crazy. And he's going to hire another coach in the offseason. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like there's 5 different coaches here since he's been here, and he's going to hire another one this offseason. It's not like Shawn Marks won this team a championship. It's not like he has that kind of pedigree. And yet he's just not held accountable for all the bad he's done for this organization. I mean, yeah, it hasn't all been bad. There's been some good, but when the lights were the brightest and we needed Shawn Marks the most, he has been terrible. I always bring up that 2021 offseason where he let go of Jeff Green, he let go of Landry Shamet, which I guess wasn't the biggest deal, but not bringing back Jeff Green, who was like the locker room glue, like they needed that guy, to let him go to Denver that offseason, and then bring in Patty Mills instead. I mean, that was just a stupid move. It's just a guy bringing in like one of his favorites. Like Shawn Marks had previous ties with Patty Mills from the Spurs. I think Jeff Green, there may have been some behind-the-scenes stuff, and they weren't the biggest fans of Jeff Green. That's just a rumor. Nonetheless, to let that guy walk and then bring in Patty Mills in his place, it was just the beginning of the end for that big 3 core. Like, they needed a guy like Jeff Green to be in there. That veteran presence. I mean, yeah, Patty Mills is a veteran too, but he was not professional when he was here. Patty Mills was always doing some extra stuff during timeouts. He would go over to the other team's bench and talk to some other guy on the other team. Like, he was not, like, Jeff Green was way more of a team guy than Patty Mills was. I don't care. I really don't care how Patty Mills comes off. If you really followed it closely, Patty Mills could have done a much better job as a teammate. Jeff Green was definitely the right choice. So anyway, he passes on Jeff Green. He brings in Paul Millsap. He brings in DeAndre Bembry. He brings in Javon Carter. He brings in, who was the other scrub? James Johnson. He brought back Blake Griffin that offseason. Okay, fair. He was good in the playoffs. But, he was washed by that next year. LaMarcus Aldridge came back. He was washed that next year. I mean, he brought in like 3 washed guys between Aldridge, Griffin, and Millsap, and the guy just had an all-time horrific offseason in what I would say in the past, ever since Shawn Marks has been here, that offseason in 2021 was the most pivotal Nets offseason, and he batted a 0 during that offseason. The only good thing he did was draft Cam Thomas. That's the only good thing he did in that offseason, and that really had nothing to do with the championship window when the Big 3 was here. So, good for getting Cam Thomas. The rest of it in free agency was terrible. I mean, literally, it could not have been any worse. The trades, the free agent signings could not have been any worse. So, you lose the Big 3 in a span of a year, and some of that's on the players, some of it's not. I think it's pretty well documented by now that the Nets easily could have kept Kyrie. They did not want to guarantee the final year of his contract. Shams Charania said that last year. And yeah, the Nets obviously didn't agree with Kyrie on many things, but at the end of the day, talent always wins out. And if you don't have superstars, if you don't have talent, you're not going to win shit. And I think that's what this team has realized this year, hopefully. I think the Nets wanted to win, but win their way. I really do think they were over the whole letting Kevin and Kyrie run things. They wanted to do things their way and get back to the culture, as Shawn Marks would say. But they're now 32-49. They'll probably be 32-50 by Sunday night. I'm just hoping that they've realized, like, hey, we can't win our way. We have to get stars, but The sad part is, if and when they get stars this offseason, they're going to have to trade all their valuable picks, all the Phoenix picks, the Mavericks pick, the Sixers pick. Like, it's all going to be gone. And I feel like we're going to build a team around 2 B-level stars, and we'll probably be like a second-round exit type of team. But it didn't have to be this way. That's the part that pisses me off. I understand sometimes you lose guys because they get too old or they get injured or you get unlucky, but like the Nets literally chose this path. They chose to move on from the superstars they had here and in favor of Ben Simmons and Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. They chose this path. I really can't sit here and say, oh, it was all the stars' fault. That's why the Nets are in the position they are right now. I can't say that. Like, it was really the Nets who chose this path, which is why it annoys me. And the fact that Shawn Marks is once again not held accountable is crazy to me. I just don't get it. And I feel like he is going to manage out of desperation this offseason, and nothing is more dangerous than a desperate GM. Like, a guy in his shoes who knows that if they have a bad year again next year or get even worse possibly, Shawn Marks probably knows that the leash is not much longer. And for a guy to be in, like, Shawn Marks is not going to care about the picks we have in 2026, 2027, 2028, 29, 30. He's not going to care. He's going to trade our entire future again just to get a little better now and get a team that makes the playoffs next year as a 5 or 6 seed. It's just a recipe for disaster. And I just, that's the part about Joe Tsai and even Shawn Marks that I can't stand. There's no foresight with this team. They can't see into the future at all. When you decided to move on from Kyrie and then eventually KD last year, they did that without owning any first-round picks for like 5 more years. I mean, you can't afford to lose talent like that and not own your first-round pick for 5 more years. You just can't do it. And they did it. They literally don't have a pick this year. It's like, we win 32 games. Yeah, it sucks. But usually when you win 32 games, you get the prize of a high pick in the draft. Well, that pick now goes to Houston for James Harden, who we had for 13 months. It's just like, I just can't believe all this happened. And before the year even ends, we're sitting here talking about Shawn Marks being back next year. I mean, there's nothing you can do. It is what it is. It's out of my control. And as a fan, you just have to hope that they get this shit right. But I mean, I'm speechless at this point. It's just crazy. I mean, once again, they chose this path. You stop blaming the stars. It's over with. It's over and done with. Stop blaming the stars. They chose this. This is what you got, a 32-win season with no draft picks. I mean, there was no reason to miss the playoffs. The Eastern Conference is absolute garbage. I said this last video. It's the Celtics, and there's a gap, a big gap, and then you have a few other teams that are pretty good. I feel like from like the Bulls, the Hawks, I mean, like even those teams in 9 and 10, there's no reason why you couldn't be better than those teams. The Hawks missed Trae Young for a big chunk of the year. The Bulls missed Zach LaVine, whether it's good or bad, I don't know, but they missed Zach LaVine for pretty much the entire season. I mean, the Heat have 44 wins. They're not nothing special in the 8 seed right now. The Pacers have 46. I mean, there's no reason why the Nets couldn't be in the 9 or 10 seed right now. There's just no excuse for it, whether you were relying on Ben Simmons too much or not. I mean, it's just, and the part that Shawn Marks really annoys me with now, because I'm kind of harping on the past, the part that really annoys me is that he just killed the value of a lot of guys on this team that had value. Whether that was Dorian Finney-Smith, who apparently, when the Nets first acquired Dorian Finney-Smith last year during the trade deadline in 2023, the Nets apparently could have had 2 first-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith. They declined that. They could have had, I think, 4 or 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. They declined that. I mean, that's 7 picks right there. You could have turned Kevin and Kyrie into, like, when it was all said and done, you could have turned those guys into like 14 draft picks. Between like the 4 you got from Phoenix, I think you got 2 from the Mavericks. You could have got 2 more from Finney-Smith, would have been 8 total. Then you could have had like 5 more from Bridges, which would have gave you like 13 total first-round picks. I mean, the way they've managed this team in the past year and a half is embarrassing. It really is. You know, like, okay, fine. You were done with Kyrie? Fine. All right. It wasn't salvageable? Fine. You move on. But at least start the rebuild. to just stay in the middle with Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and DFS and Dinwiddie. It was never going to work. You got swept by the Sixers last year. I mean, what did you expect? That team was not good. They barely played Cam Thomas. I mean, maybe he wasn't ready, but still. You were playing Joe Harris and Patty Mills in that series. What did you expect? You know, like, you got swept again. Back-to-back years. There was just no reason why this team couldn't acquire Mikal Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith, who at that point were very valuable players. Mikal Bridges was playing very well at that time. He got better when he came here. I mean, truthfully, his highest value was probably in the offseason, Mikal Bridges, last offseason, because he came to the Nets and had that amazing 26-game stretch where he looked like he'd be like a top 20, 25 player in the league. So maybe over the summer was Mikal Bridges' peak value, but why wouldn't you trade Dorian Finney-Smith last trade deadline? Like, you could have got him from the Mavericks and flipped him right away to whoever the hell wanted him and got 2 first-round picks. Even if they're 2 late first-round picks, it's fine. Like, it's Dorian Finney-Smith. He was 29 last year. He's a role player for a team that has no championship ceiling. Why would you hold on to that? There's no point. And now you're stuck here with Dorian Finney-Smith, who's now a year and a half older, and his value has diminished a whole lot. You're not going to get 2 first-round picks for DFS. I'd be surprised if they get 1 at this point. He's older. He's dropped off in production. The contract is less and less valuable as the days go on. I mean, they missed it. They missed their window. They could have traded Royce O'Neal, I think, in 2023's trade deadline for a first-round pick. They said no to that too. I mean, listen, it's reports, and you can believe what you want to believe, but so much has come out about trades that Shawn Marks has passed on that you look back at them now and you're like, how the hell did he pass on that? Even the Jalen Green offer, where it was Jalen Green and 2 of our first-round picks back for Mikal Bridges, and apparently he passed on that too. I mean, how many reported trades can this man pass on before you realize what the hell is he doing? What is this man's big picture? And I've said this before as well. They better have a really good plan this offseason. They better be very confident that they can get Donovan Mitchell. They better be very confident they can get another star with Donovan Mitchell, because if their plan is to get 1 star, whether it's Mitchell or whoever, and go into next year with 1 star who's like a B-level star once again, and Mikal Bridges as your 2, that team ain't going nowhere. If you get Donovan Mitchell, you may have to trade Cam Thomas, which if you lose Cam and gain Donovan Mitchell, how much better does that make this team? Do they have 37 wins instead of 32? Maybe they get the 10 seed in that case. Are they that much better? Like, I don't think so. So I feel like whatever route they go in this offseason, that's realistic, because once again, they will not blow it up. They will not completely rebuild. Whatever route they go in this offseason, it's probably going to disappoint me and most of us, and that is what it is. I just hope that somehow, because sometimes there's dumb luck involved. There are teams that are dumb, but they get lucky, and stuff works out somehow. There are examples of this. I'm trying to think, like the NFL I would probably know more of. Like I would say, like when the Chargers got Justin Herbert instead of Tua Tagovailoa because the Dolphins passed on Herbert. That's kind of dumb luck. It just worked out in your favor. Like when the Giants drafted Andrew Thomas instead of Chase Young because the Redskins had the higher pick, they lucked out. It was dumb luck. I'm sure they wanted Chase Young. He was drafted at 2nd, the Giants picked 4th, and they got stuck, quote-unquote, with Andrew Thomas, who turned out to be a better player. So sometimes bad front offices and bad teams, they run into dumb luck. And I'm hoping that somehow, some way, that happens for this Brooklyn Nets team, because I've lost all confidence in Shawn Marks to be what he once was. He lost his fastball. He really did. Shawn Marks was in his prime back in 2017, 18, 19, 20, even the first part of 21. But ever since then, Shawn Marks has been arguably the worst GM in the NBA. And it's crazy. He'll be back next year. I still can't believe it. It's funny, I'm on Twitter or X, and there's a what's happening section. It's Nets at Knicks, and there's a picture of Carmelo Anthony, When's the last time Melo played for the Knicks? Like 7 years ago? I mean, really, they're going to put a picture of him on here? Anyway, I'll react to the game quickly. I liked what I saw from Trendon Watford for the most part. He had a few turnovers. He had 5. Yeah, that was not good. But some bad turnovers. But the main story was Cam Thomas, who against a really good defense, and OG Anunoby shot 15 of 26, 41 points for Cam Thomas, 7 of 7 at the line. He had 6 assists. Did have 4 turnovers, had a rough turnover at the end where he dribbled into a triple team and got ripped. So that was like, he's had a couple bad turnovers in this game, but overall, Cam Thomas was amazing. So Noah Clowney was fine. He had that amazing dunk. He had a dunk from, I think it was Lonnie Walker gave him a pass, and it looked like when he was on the runway, it looked like Clowney was way too far from the basket to go for a dunk, but he still did it somehow. Like he was gliding through the air. It was crazy. So Clowney had that great dunk, had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, no blocks in this game. Mikal Bridges did not play in the fourth quarter. Again, 24 points. He shot 2 of 8. My God, 2 of 8, 5 points. He was, the second the game ended, he went over to that Knicks bench and was like a schoolgirl over there. Like I said this on Twitter, so I might as well say it here. Like I'm over the whole Mikal Bridges thing. Like I just don't think he has any dog in him whatsoever. I really don't. He just seems like a fanboy when it comes to the Knicks. Like you're part of the Nets organization. I get they're your friends and whatnot, but like between going on the podcast and doing content with them, there was a video with Josh Hart recently. This guy does it to himself. I can't even like feel that bad at this point. Like I'm kind of over this whole Mikal Bridges thing. He's not who we thought he was. Like I thought what he did last year for the Nets was a bit overrated. I thought he might come back down to earth, but I didn't think he'd regress this badly. Like this is bad. Like him trying to create offense is horrible. It is like it's one of the toughest things to watch as a Nets fan, is this man trying to create any sort of offense. Like there was a play where Bridges had the ball on the right wing and he was like in his triple threat stance, and I think DiVincenzo poked the ball out twice. He tried to dribble with his left hand. He lost the handle on it and passed it back out. Like the man has no bag whatsoever. I don't know if he's tired. I'm not using that excuse, whatever. But the man has 0 bag. Unless he's a corner shooter from 3, there's no use. His defense has been underwhelming, and he's yet another player whose value drastically diminished over the season. So shout out to Shawn Marks for not trading him at the right time. I mean, maybe they can trade him in this offseason. I hope they do. He'll be 28 next year, and he's not going to get much better. Like, Mikal Bridges is what he is. I feel like when you're 28, how much better can you get? He has a skinny body type. He's not going to put on that much muscle. His handles can't get much better. I mean, they can, but they probably won't. I feel like he just does not have that in him. So, I'm personally just over it. Like, I would trade him. Whatever. Get what you can. Either get picks, get someone from Houston. I would love Şengün. I would love Jalen Green. Somehow get one of those guys. I don't know, but I'm just over it. If he's gone, he's gone. I don't care. Nick Claxton, he was 4 of 8 in 36 minutes, 9 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. He had 3 assists in like the first quarter. 2 blocks. I will say Mikal Bridges had that nice block on somebody. I think it was it Brunson? I forget. He had one nice block, though. I'll give him that. But aside from that one block, Bridges did nothing. Jalen Wilson had 11 points, had some nice drives to the rim, made a 3, 7 rebounds, 1 steal. So a nice game from him, 11 points. Lonnie Walker played pretty well. He was 6 of 13, 3 of 8 from 3, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 15 points. So his best game in a while. Jacob Gilyard, he played for 12 minutes, did nothing, had like a Tony Snell type stat line, 0 points. He did have 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. But yeah, not much there from him. So, yeah, aside from Cam Thomas torching a very good defense, there was not much to talk about. No great takeaways here. It just further proved that, I know he had 5 turnovers, but it further proved that Trendon Watford should have played more this year. They've benched, I think Finney Smith's out for the year now. There's one game left, but Finney Smith's out for the year. and Schroeder's out for the year. So those guys are done. I think there's somebody else too I'm forgetting, but Cam Johnson with his sprained toe, he's out for the year too, whatever. So it's another disappointing one. Like the contract given to Cam Johnson last summer is just so bad looking back on it. I know it made that it made the Bill Simmons podcasts for like the top 15 worst contracts in the NBA. He wasn't high. He was like 13 or 14, but he was still on that list. So Cam Johnson, a disappointing season. Once again, I think Cam Johnson's not that bad of a player, but between the injuries and just not being clutch at all, he just pisses me off. So I don't know. I hope he's better next year. Maybe he'll be traded in the summer. If he is traded, then so be it. I can care less. It'd probably be a good thing, honestly, because I don't know how many teams want that contract. I've heard the idea of shipping him to the Pistons and reuniting him with Monty Williams. Maybe that'll work, but aside from that, I don't know who the hell wants this guy. And then lastly, we have the Joe Tsai quote from the podcast, and I'm going to try and find it and play it on here for you guys. I feel like that'd be better.
It doesn't matter if you're competitively successful or not. There is a mechanism for all teams to be, even the small market teams, to be competitive and to also make money.
So stop right there. He basically says there's no need to be competitive in the NBA. Even the small market teams make money. That's where this is where that man's mindset is. It's about the money. He didn't bring up anything about championships or winning. It was all about the money. It's all he cared about. It's not even over yet. Hold on.
So there's a pretty fair sharing economics among the teams. For example, the TV rights. The NBA today gets something like $2.7 billion of national TV revenues every year. That gets split among the 30 teams evenly. That's very, very different from the EPL, for example. So I thought those characteristics are almost like a little bit socialist. But it ensures that everybody that invests in the league will not lose a lot of money.
So there you have it. Everyone that invests in the NBA will not lose a lot of money. That's where his mindset is. And you know what? As a billionaire and a guy who bought an NBA team, it is about the money. I get it. I'm sure no billionaire is buying a team just to win. All right, there's a lot of financial gain involved as well. So I'm not completely naive to that point and thinking that it has nothing to do with money for anybody. Whether it's Ballmer or whether it's the hell's his name in Dallas, Mark Cuban, like guys who will do anything to win. Like I'm sure it's about money as well. Like it's definitely it's a good investment to buy an NBA team. But for Joe Tsai, who at one point said that his religion was winning and winning a championship, for a guy who once said that during the 2021 season to now just basically go a complete 180 and basically say, yeah, I mean, it's good for the money. We're going to make money no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're competitive. Like saying things like that, like I get it. You didn't have to say it. There's some things that are better left unsaid, and that was one of them. And if he said something like, if he brought in like, hey, it's good for a financial situation. It makes money. The league's going to make us money regardless, but we also want to win a championship. If he said that, I would have been fine with it. I would have been like, all right, cool. Like, you want to make money and you want to win a championship. Cool. But Joe Tsai, during this podcast, I watched every minute of it. There was no mention of winning or championships or any of that. Like, he just didn't even bother bringing that up. If it was me, if I was the owner, I would say, yeah, it's a good financial opportunity for me, my kids, kids, and all that. It's great for that. But at the end of the day, it's more about I want to win. I want to win championships. He didn't say any of that. That's the part that bothers me. Not the part that he brought up money because he's a billionaire and that's what they care about and that's what they're good at, is making money. So I get that part. But to not bring up anything about winning or championships and go straight to, well, whether we're competitive or not, I'm going to make myself money. Like that's the part that pissed me off. So he's the owner. He can't fire himself. And as I always say, it is what it is. My pinned tweet is still this Joe Tsai. I made like this meme of Drake when he's doing, I think it was the Hotline Bling video, when he does like this and then he does that and points. So I did for the part that he's like like shying away from. I put guarantee Kyrie Irving's contract to satisfy Kevin Durant. I had Joe Tsai looking away in disgust. Then I had pay Cam Johnson $94.5 million to satisfy Mikal Bridges, and I put Joe Tsai with a smiley face on it. So it's just funny, you know. This organization is just they move in the weirdest way possible. We're bringing back a GM who has done nothing but decline since 2021, and he's going to have another shot to hire a head coach. I want to think. So he hired Atkinson. He hired Nash. He hired Jacques Vaughn. So that's 3. He'll hire legitimately his 4th head coach. If you include like the interim coaches, he's had like 6 total. So yeah, it's just crazy. It's sad what's happened here with this team. And you know, it's just 3 years ago. Think about where we were 3 years ago. This team was so freaking good. They had the best odds for a title. And 3 years later, we are just, I think, one of the bottom 3 worst situations in the NBA. I mean, the only thing we have going for us is we play in Brooklyn. That's it. Like, if they played in Jersey still, oh my God, this would be even worse. But at least they play in Brooklyn. It's a somewhat attractive destination. They have some young pieces in Cam Thomas, who I don't even know if they're going to trade him or not. Like, that scares me still. I feel like they are not 100% sold on Cam Thomas being the future here. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. But Noah Clowney, there's a pretty high ceiling there with Clowney. Maybe Dariq Whitehead will be something one day. I don't know. There is some young talent here and some hopes for that. But to have a 32-win season and to not have a first-round pick or any pick is it's terrible. But the man still retained his job. So yeah, I did not expect to make a video tonight, but a lot of big Nets news today, whether it was the Tsai interview or the Shawn Marks news or losing to the Knicks. And I think I didn't mention this, but the Nets were up by 17 in this game at one point. They were up a lot in the first quarter. I think at one point the Nets were up like 29 to like, the hell was the score? I'm trying to think of what it was now. They were up like 26-7 maybe. Like, it was a lot. They were up by a lot of points in the first quarter. The Knicks offense was so bad. They had 14 points in the first quarter, but the Knicks in the second quarter had 40 points to make up for it. Then they had 30 in the third, 27 in the fourth, and the Nets only scored 13 points in the third quarter. That's where they lost this game. I mean, the Knicks outscored them 30-13 in the third. If they just had an average quarter that quarter, they'd probably win this game, and they screw up the Knicks playoff seeding, so that would have been fun. But, you know, that's what we do now. We lose to the Knicks every game, so whatever. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Might do a season recap video next week, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. If you guys want that, leave it in the comments. But we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all next time.